What it is, guys, your boy BlastphamousHD, and today we're here to watch 3 true horror Halloween stories. Link is down in the description below if you want to check it out and watch it without my loud ass giving commentation over it.
In high school psych class, we learned of the story of Kitty Genovese, a woman who was attacked and stabbed to death over a span of nearly 3 hours while her neighbors listened to her screams for help. The lesson was that a group of passive individuals will experience diminished responsibility when they feel that someone else in the crowd will take care of the matter. Kitty was stabbed to death at 3 a.m. while walking to the back door of her New York City apartment building. Her assailant attacked her while her neighbors listened to her screams of agony from the comfort of their own homes, and sat idly by as her murderer returned on 2 separate occasions throughout the night to stab her several more times. Living in a fairly large city, I can find my mind returning to that story whenever I hear screams or shouts outside my window. I mute my computer or TV and strain my ears, trying to decipher if the cries are teenagers fooling around or someone being viciously attacked. It's a bit irrational, I know, as my city has a fairly low murder rate, and that the likelihood of myself being a witness to such an event is extremely unlikely. In any case, I have always felt inclined to be acutely aware of these noises, for fear that my hapless neighbors would stand by while the unthinkable happened. Last night, I was catching up on some bills and watching a show when I heard yelling. I paused and listened, thinking it was probably some Halloween revelers enjoying themselves. The sound was unusual. It sounded like a man repeatedly blowing the air out of his lungs, but yelling it. It was like a clear enunciation of, "Ah, ah." I had never heard anything like it before. I grabbed a sweater and went to stand on the balcony. The yell had ceased for the moment, but right as I gave up and turned back to go inside, I heard it again. The shouts were coming from the park behind my building. Being 8 floors up, it's difficult for me to see anyone too clearly, especially at night, but I could make out the familiar figure of Trashy Flashy, the neighborhood homeless man, so named because of the long trench coat he wears, seemingly without pants. Trashy was standing in the park facing my building and repeatedly yelling. I laughed a little with some relief. Soon after, someone below yelled out to shut up out their window, to which Trashy responded one last "ah" before turning and shuffling away. It wasn't until this afternoon that the police arrived and evacuated my floor for the investigation. My next-door neighbor was killed last night, apparently by a stranger who had snuck in through the building's back door. I never heard a thing. I used to own a small Halloween-themed shop. It's located downtown in a fairly small city, and unlike many businesses in town after Walmart's arrival, my store never really suffered when it came to customers. Of course, it was only open for the month of October. I sold a lot of unique things you might find at other novelty stores in bigger cities, but for cheaper prices. I really didn't do it for profit as much as I did it to celebrate the spooky Halloween spirit. I also love to celebrate that spirit by doing my best to scare the crap out of people every Halloween. One particular Halloween, my chosen victim was my buddy Alex. He was a pretty relaxed and calm guy most of the time, so he was the perfect person for the plan I had in mind. First, you should know that I always began packing up my store every Halloween fairly early in the morning, as it was unlikely to get customers on the holiday itself. I told Alex that I had much heavier merchandise that year and could use help moving it all out. Not knowing what he was getting into, he accepted, and I told him to meet me at the shop at 10. As I said, Alex was a relaxed and calm guy most of the time. Unfortunately for him, he had once told me about his irrational fear of clowns, and how he could not function around them. So naturally, my plan involved dressing up in a clown costume, When he arrived at the shop, I would stand perfectly still like a statue. Once he realized he couldn't find me, he would then call me. But when my phone rang, it would be in the pocket of an apparent clown statue, and when he came over to investigate, I'd give him my best scare. Pretty simple, right? Everything was set in motion. I dressed up, stood near the back of the store obscured by some boxes and other decorations, and waited for his arrival. A little after 10, Alex entered. It was very dark, as I'd made the last-minute decision to cut the lights before he arrived. He called my name a few times, but of course I didn't respond. I heard him walking around a bit, looking around the shop for me. I could barely hold back laughter. After a bit more shuffling, I heard Alex speak in a defensive tone. Not funny, dude. I looked around, but there was definitely no way he could see me right now, even if I had twitched or anything. I continued to play dumb. Come on, man, he repeated again, sounding angrier this time. Confused, I quietly adjusted a nearby stack of boxes so I could peer through a crack toward his voice. I couldn't make out his shape very well, but I knew for sure he was not looking in my direction. Suddenly, my phone rang. I heard Alex turn toward the sound instantly, and I froze, giddy with excitement that the plan might be working. But as he approached, I realized he wasn't holding his phone, and a wave of disappointment fell over me as I discovered my prank had been ruined by another caller. "Alright, fine, you got me," I announced shortly after the phone stopped ringing, taking off my mask and stepping out into the open. His face twisted in such horror that I had never seen before. He began yelling and spouting panicky words, and I spent a few minutes trying to get him to calm down. He explained to me that when he entered, a man in a clown costume had stared at him and began walking slowly towards him. But when my phone rang, the man had dashed right out of the store. Alex had no idea that I was actually hiding in the back the whole time. I don't want to think about what would have happened if Alex had showed up late that night, or if my other buddy had never called during the prank.
Damn! That's fucked up!
This happened the night before Halloween back in 2010. At that time, I was a freshman in college, living on campus. That year, the 31st fell on a Monday, so student festivities went on the Sunday before. During the afternoon at around 7, I was outside playing soccer on a field near my place, and I noticed an SUV driving by several times. I only noticed this because we kicked the ball over the fence several times and that car was present at least twice when we were climbing the fence to get the ball. I didn't think much of it and proceeded to go to a party later that night. My girlfriend, a few friends and I left at around 9:30 p.m. and we noticed a helicopter in the sky with a bright floodlight attached to it, seemingly scanning the area. We proceeded to the party and didn't fret over it. The party was on the other side of campus, and so we missed the sirens and flashing lights racing up and down the street. We got back from the party at around 11 p.m., and I immediately noticed that not only was the first helicopter still in the air around my on-campus apartment, there was a steady stream of police cars, ambulances, and fire trucks driving up and down the street nearby. However, none of them had their lights or sirens on, so I wasn't alarmed. The next day, the internet informed me that an SUV was found ablaze in the parking lot, with a woman's body inside. This happened about a half mile to 3/4 of a mile from where I lived. I guess during the party, the area was crawling with police and other authorities, trying to look for clues. My roommate later told me that there was non-stop sirens for a good 20 minutes after I left for the party. In the next few weeks, more info surfaced, saying that a man killed his wife and tried to burn the body. He broke her neck as well as bludgeoned her body. If the news articles are to be trusted, the killer was lighting his wife's body on fire during the same time I was getting dressed up in my Woody costume for a party. It wasn't until a few weeks later that I made the connection with the SUV I saw while playing soccer earlier in the day. I find that very chilling, that while I was playing soccer, someone was driving within 20 yards of me with a corpse in their car, especially since it was on the campus of a seemingly secure university in a very safe city.
That's some crazy fucking bullshit, man. Man, I need to get a damn carrying license and packs the heat. Because Halloween's coming up. I already don't trust people. You know, somebody even approached me wrong. Trick or treat. Oh. It's not a good joke. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to comment, like, and or subscribe. As always, the boy BlastphamousHD. If you guys did enjoy this video, then make sure to click the link down in the description. It'll take you to the original video, Twisms. Make sure to check out my prank channel. I'm uploading 2 brand new pranks every single week, as this one you see on the left. Click the annotation if you want to watch that, or look in the description where I'll leave a link for the people who are on phones. And as always, BlastphamousHD out.